Imagine you're standing next to a river 4,000 years ago. The water looks clear enough to drink. But here's the terrifying part. That same clear-looking water could be crawling with things that would make you sick for weeks, or worse. No hospitals, no filters from a store, no way to just check a label. And yet somehow entire ancient civilizations figured out how to turn dirty, dangerous water into something safe enough to drink thousands of years before anyone even knew germs existed. Stay till the end because the last part of this video is going to completely change how you think about ancient humans and how smart they really were, long before modern science ever showed up. So today, we're diving into one of the most underrated survival skills in human history. The secret water filtration methods ancient people used to find and create clean drinking water. This isn't just a random historical fact. This is something that quite literally kept entire civilizations alive. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how they did it, using nothing but instinct, trial and error, and whatever nature handed them. Let's set the scene. Picture living in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago, right along the Nile River. Water is everywhere, but not all of it is safe. The river carries mud, sediment, waste, and who knows what else, floating right through the exact water people need to drink, cook with, and survive on every single day. There's no faucet, no purification plant, just a river and your own two hands. So what did they do? Here's the first trick, and it's shockingly simple. They let gravity do the work. Ancient Egyptians built shallow basins and reservoirs, letting water sit still for a while. As it sat, heavier particles like dirt and silt would slowly sink to the bottom, leaving clearer water near the top. It's basically the same idea as letting a shaken snow globe settle. Except in this case, settling water wasn't just satisfying to watch. It could be the difference between getting sick and staying healthy, but they didn't stop there. Egyptians took it a step further with something called coagulation. They used a natural mineral, something similar to alum, and added it to murky water. This caused tiny floating particles to clump together and sink faster, clearing the water even more efficiently. Here's the wild part. That exact same coagulation technique is still used in modern water treatment plants today. Something ancient people figured out through pure observation is still part of how your tap water gets cleaned right now. And it wasn't just about settling water. Ancient Egyptian tomb carvings, dating back thousands of years, actually show people using a siphon device to move and clarify water. Think about that. This wasn't guesswork. This was engineering. Real, intentional design, aimed at solving a life or death problem, carved into stone so we could still see it today. Now let's travel to a completely different part of the ancient world. Ancient India, where sacred texts written thousands of years ago describe exact methods people used to purify water. These texts recommended boiling water, letting it sit in direct sunlight, and filtering it through sand and charcoal. Stop and think about that for a second. Long before anyone understood bacteria or sunlight's ability to kill certain pathogens, people had already discovered, just through experience, that boiling water and exposing it to the sun actually made it safer to drink. They didn't know the science, but they knew it worked. Here's a question I want you to really think about for a moment. If you were dropped into the ancient world right now, with access to nothing but river water, sand, charcoal, and sunlight, do you think you could figure out how to make that water safe to drink, using nothing but observation and trial and error? Take a second, really imagine it, and drop your honest answer in the comments below. I want to know if you think you'd survive. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful ancient filtration tools of all: charcoal. This wasn't just a random material people threw into their water on a whim. Ancient civilizations across Egypt, India, and China discovered something incredible. Charcoal has a strange, almost magical structure. It's covered in millions of tiny pores, creating a massive surface area invisible to the eye. And through a process called adsorption, not absorption, but adsorption, meaning particles physically stick to its surface, charcoal was able to trap toxins, reduce bad smells, and improve both the taste and safety of drinking water. Ancient Egyptians placed charcoal directly inside their water storage vessels. In Japan, a similar tradition, using specially made charcoal for water purification, has survived for centuries and is honestly still used today. Ancient China took it even further, building entire layered filtration beds using charcoal combined with sand, creating multi-layered systems along their water channels. Think of it like a natural, ancient filter cartridge, built directly into the landscape, refined through generations of trial and error, with zero modern chemistry involved. Here's where things get even more clever. Ancient Greek physician Hippocrates, someone many consider the father of modern medicine, invented a cloth filtering bag, sometimes called the Hippocratic sleeve. Water would be poured through this cloth, physically trapping visible particles and sediment before anyone drank it. It's a strikingly simple idea, but it worked. And in a strange way, it's the ancient ancestor of the coffee filter or the fabric filter bags used in some modern water systems today. Different cultures around the world were solving the exact same problem using completely different resources available to them. In freezing Arctic regions, Inuit communities faced a totally different challenge. Fuel for fire was incredibly scarce, so instead of wasting it, they carefully melted ice and heated water in soapstone bowls, making sure not a single drop of precious heat was wasted in the process. Every single decision mattered when your environment offered you almost nothing to work with. Meanwhile, in parts of Africa, particularly regions like the Sahel, communities combined boiling water with natural coagulation, using plant extracts to help sediment settle before the water was ever heated. Again, no laboratories, no scientific journals. Just careful observation passed down from person to person, generation after generation, refined until it actually worked. When you step back and look at all of this together, something incredible becomes clear. Ancient people across completely different continents who had no way of communicating with each other, who had never heard of germs, bacteria, or modern chemistry, somehow arrived at strikingly similar solutions. Sand, charcoal, boiling, sunlight, cloth, settling basins, different regions, different resources, same underlying goal, survival. And here's something worth pausing on. These weren't lucky accidents. This was real trial and error, tested over and over, refined generation after generation, until certain methods consistently worked and others were abandoned. In many ways, these ancient communities were running actual science experiments, just without ever calling it science. They were observing patterns, testing outcomes, and adjusting their techniques based on results. That's genuinely the foundation of the scientific method, being practiced thousands of years before the term scientific method ever existed. Now here's the part that really puts things into perspective. Today, when you want clean water, you barely think about it. You turn on a tap or twist open a bottle and clean water simply appears. No effort, no waiting, no risk. But that convenience exists only because thousands of years of trial, failure, and quiet human ingenuity built the foundation underneath it. Every modern water treatment plant, every basic filter you might use at home, every safety standard protecting your drinking water can trace its roots back to people standing beside a river trying to figure out how to survive with nothing but sand, charcoal, sunlight, and careful observation. So the next time you fill up a glass of water without a second thought, take a moment to appreciate just how much human effort, curiosity, and quiet genius it actually took to get here. Ancient humans weren't just trying to survive day to day. They were laying the invisible groundwork for the modern world we live in now. One clever, resourceful solution at a time. If this video genuinely surprised you, or changed the way you think about ancient human intelligence, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to keep discovering more incredible, mind-blowing secrets about how ancient humans survived, adapted, and quietly shaped the world we live in today, make sure you're subscribed because this is only the beginning of the story.